I'm leaving my boyfriend over a prank. I'm still shaken up a bit, so if this doesn't make much sense, I apologize. I, 18 female, have been with my boyfriend, 20 male, for almost 2 years. I moved in with him last August and things have been pretty rocky. Recently, he started watching a couple prank channels on YouTube and he started pranking me. At first, it was just small things like putting way too much flavor in my water or salt in a bite of my food. I laughed it off. It didn't really bother me. But then he started jumping out and scaring me. That kind of stuff really affects me sometimes because of my PTSD, and I try to explain that to him. He would apologize but do it again the next day. I was getting annoyed and frustrated, but I try to let it be. Things escalated last week when he put some noisemakers under the toilet seat in the middle of the night. I woke up to go to the bathroom and sat down. Boom! It being late at night, me being half awake, and the loud noise all mixed together gave me a full-blown panic attack. I was on the bathroom floor crying and having flashbacks. After I don't know how long, I stopped crying and was just staring into space, having flashbacks. He came in because I guess he noticed I was gone for a while. When he saw me sitting on the floor, he remembered his little prank and started laughing. I just stared at him for a second, got up and called him an ass. I slept in the living room for the rest of the night. The next day, I sat him down and told him that he could not keep scaring me like this. No more jumping out at me. No more loud noises. He pretty much sighed and rolled his eyes, but he said he would stop. Everything was fine for a week. I thought this whole prank thing was finally over. Yesterday, I got home from being out with a friend, actually feeling better for the first time in a while. When I walked into the house, all the lights were off, so I assumed that he was still at work, which isn't abnormal because sometimes he works late. I plugged my phone in because it died on my way back home, and when it powered on, I got a notification that he sent me a text. It just read, "So sorry. I love you." I replied saying it's okay. I'll see you when you get home. Love you. And I heard his phone ding in the bathroom. That was weird, I thought. I got up to go get his phone, and when I went into the bathroom, I saw him laying in the bathtub. The bath was full of water. There was an empty bottle of pills in the sink, and he was covered in blood. His wrists were cut, and there was just so much blood. My heart just sank. I started having a panic attack. I was hyperventilating, crying, and I was just frozen. After a minute, I ran to the living room to get my phone to call 911, and I hear splashing and then laughter. I turned around to see him standing in the hallway just laughing. He said he got me, and I should have seen the look on my face. I don't even know how to describe the feelings I was experiencing. I was so mad, sad, and scared. I didn't even say anything. I just walked out of the house. I just kept walking, and eventually I figured I needed to call my friend to come get me. At first, I didn't tell her what happened. I just told her that I needed her to come get me and it was an emergency. She came and took me back to her house where I'm at now. My boyfriend keeps calling me and he sent me some text saying that he was sorry and it was just a joke. He said I'm overreacting and I need to come home. I'm not answering. I don't even know what I would say to him. My friend's going over to his house tomorrow to get my things while he's at work. She said I can stay with her however long I need. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just feel numb. Am I in the wrong for asking my friend for a piece of chocolate? I, 34 female, am the manager of a small retail store. Today is my day off, but I went into the store to make sure that everything was set to run smoothly, as we have 2 new hires. When I got there, my friend, an employee, Kate, 21 female, was in the back showing the other coworkers some chocolate that she got from her boyfriend. They were apparently some fancy gourmet dark chocolate truffles in a little box, and she was showing off the last one. She said that she'd eaten the others since they'd come in last Friday. A late second Valentine's Day gift apparently. I meant to eat the last one last night, but had forgotten. Here's where the issue arises. I asked Kate if I could try it. She looked surprised by the question and took a minute before she answered it. She told me that I could buy some on the website and that she had a little pamphlet that came with a box showing all the flavors available. She asked if I'd like it, and I told her yes, but that I'd like to try the chocolate to see if it's any good. She said her boyfriend got them for her and she didn't think it would be right to give her gift to someone else. I laughed and told her in a lighthearted tone that if she wants to be stingy, she can just say that. A couple of the others laughed, but I guess Kate didn't find it funny. She just stood there and didn't say anything, which is really unlike her. She's very talkative and bubbly. She ended up closing the box of chocolate and said something about forgetting to do something and then left the room. I ended up leaving the building about 20 minutes later. And then another hour later, I got a text from my assistant manager, Marla, 47 female, saying that Kate asked her to leave early because she didn't feel well. I approved through my DM for her to leave since we were staffed well enough for what would probably be a slow day. I asked her to pass along to Kate that if she leaves, I'd like for her to make up those hours at some point in the next week. I tried asking Marla what was wrong, but all she knew to tell me was that Kate wasn't feeling well, as she said. She proposed it could have something to do with what I said earlier, though, as she was allegedly quiet since then. Now I'm just wondering, am I in the wrong? For a little backstory, my fiance and I have been together for 4 years. She has 2 kids, 12 female and 15 female, with shared custody. It's an odd arrangement. She has them from January to June. Early September, she moved into our house. My daughter, Charlie, is 10. For the record, up until recently, she's been an amazing mother figure to Charlie. Our first issue was back in November as we discussed bedroom arrangements. She felt her eldest should have a room of her own while living here 6 months out of the year. That would cause Charlie to bunk with her youngest. I, however, did not allow it because I would enroach Charlie and likely cause her to feel alienated in her own home. Last weekend, I was called in and worked a 12-hour shift. When I arrived home, Charlie was upset because they went out to eat and left her at home. She said when they came back, she was handed a bag of takeout and the food was stone cold. I asked my fiancé to elaborate, to which she confirmed taking only her girls out to an early birthday dinner, then took them to play mini golf, hence why the food was cold. It sat in the car as they played. She kept deflecting to the food, saying she didn't expect her to eat it cold. She could have warmed it up herself. I kept insisting that it was extremely rude to exclude Charlie from the outing. She came back with, "Why is it okay for you to go out with just Charlie? That's different. In the last 30 days her kids have been here. Charlie and I have only gone grocery shopping or on one occasion took her cat to the vet. That can't even be compared to what she did." We didn't come to any sort of agreement. Friday she was taking her girls to the dentist. On the way out, she made a snarky comment, "I hope this doesn't offend Charlie too." It pissed me off that she said that. I called her feral. We both later apologized, but then she started the argument back up. She said it was rude of me to argue about her taking her kids out. She further said, "I don't see my kids for 6 months. Excuse the hell out of me for wanting to spend some alone time with them." I understood her point, but I felt like we could periodically plan separate outings on the same day so no one feels excluded. She kind of threw the bedroom ordeal in my face and said, "My kids might feel alienated from their own mother if they can't enjoy time alone with me." She made the pointless remark that her kids have no problem with her doing things with Charlie while they're living at their father's. She argued that there will be many times when Charlie will be excluded because of the age gap between her and her eldest. I told her that if she expects things to work out, she would need to treat Charlie as one of her daughters. She said I was entirely missing her point because I don't know what it's like having shared custody. Me scolding her for spending time with them, as she said, was a bitch-ass move. Am I in the wrong for arguing with my fiance after she left my child at home and took only her kids on an outing? Today I messed up by telling my parents that I was gay to avoid their arranged marriage proposals. So I'm pretty straight, maybe slightly bi if we count femboys. Let's get that out of the way first. I'm also an Indian American male around 26 years of age. I'd also like to clear up some misconceptions around arranged marriage. A lot of non-Indians seem to think that it's literally your parents choose who you marry and that's that. But that's not really the case. Instead, it's more like your parents tap their network to find potential partners for you. If you like each other's pics, then you guys get to meet in person and then you decide whether or not you want to get married. It's not quite as bad as many of you think it is, but the whole process feels super rushed and I'd rather date someone before I figure out if we're compatible or not. Anyway, my parents have recently been getting on my case about getting married. Apparently, I'm getting older. I need to settle down and give them grandchildren or something like that. Basically, every time I see them, which is fairly often since they live close by, they have a new potential match for me. A picture of some new girl and asked me if I'd be willing to meet her. It's honestly super annoying, but I'm too non-confrontational to really put my foot down and say, I don't want an arranged marriage. After all, if I do, there'd be an argument or at minimum some interrogation about why I don't want one. So I was thinking of ways I could get them to stop harassing me about getting married, and that idea in my head popped up. I decided it'd be a lot easier to just come out as gay than to explain why I didn't want an arranged marriage. My parents were fairly conservative but weren't the types to disown their kids, and if I just said I was gay, I'd have a solid reason not to get an arranged marriage. I didn't like girls. So that's what I ended up doing the last time I was visiting. They were showing me pictures of some girl and I just looked them in the eyes and said, "Mom, Dad, I'm gay." They got really quiet and awkward and asked me if I was sure, and I said yes. My mom said that they love me no matter what and to do what makes me happy. My dad was a lot more awkward and quiet, but later gave me a similar talk about how he was a bit uncomfortable with the idea, but recognizes that times are changing and I should do what makes me happy. Overall, I did feel kind of bad because of how genuinely my parents seemed to respond to me, but was happy with the result. They stopped giving me arranged marriage proposal and stopped showing me pictures of girls. That is, until last weekend. I visited them as usual and was greeted by my mom, who was more excited than usual. She sat me down and pulled out a binder with a bunch of pictures of guys. Apparently, my parents had spent the last month or so looking for any and all gay Hindu Indian men who I could potentially marry. So now I guess I'm dealing with the exact same shit, but instead of being greeted with pictures of cute Indian girls, I get to see pictures of gay Indian dudes instead. At this point, the plan is to either find a girlfriend and tell my parents that she totally turned me straight, or maybe marry a twink or something. I don't know. I'm male 26 and my sister is female 23. She runs a bakery business and she's been struggling lately to keep up with the orders. She does a lot of orders for wedding cakes that require custard or marmalade fillings, and I offered to help her out by making these fillings at home and bringing them to her so that she has less work to do. Unfortunately, the past 4 times I've made these fillings, my girlfriend, female 24, has literally dipped her fingers into the filling jars and contaminated them because, in her words, she just wanted to try some. I've tried explaining to her that she can't dip her fingers in and contaminate the entire batch, because then I have to remake it. I said that she could use a spoon and take some out if she wants to try it so bad, but she just pouts and says that she likes using her fingers because it takes her back to her childhood. Today, I was trying to finish some chocolate custard to send over to my sister really fast because she was running late on a wedding cake order from an important client. I told my girlfriend beforehand not to eat the custard, and if she really wanted to please use a spoon. I get out of the shower, and what do I see? She has her fingers in it again. I totally lost it because this was the 5th time that she blatantly disregarded what I said, and I yelled at her and told her to stop effing eating the food that I'm making because it's not for her and she's contaminating it. She started crying and got mad at me for fat shaming her, even though I made no comment on her weight and she has no history of weight issues or eating disorders. I know I was harsh, but she kept pushing my limits. So am I in the wrong for yelling at my girlfriend to stop effing eating? I'm 33 and my son 8 is extremely anxious when he has to be with a babysitter. This is because of the fact that he's extremely scared of the dark, and last year, his babysitter locked him in the basement for 6 hours while she had her boyfriend over. He was too short to reach the light switch and cried for hours because he was afraid. Ever since then, he has been extremely wary of strangers and gets too scared to be left alone with them if I'm not around. My husband worked overseas up until 2 months ago when he finally was able to get a position in his company here. So my son has not grown to fully trust him yet. He's been in therapy for a few months now, but I understand that every child is different and that each one progresses within their own pace. I called my cousin 29 and told her that I understand that she wanted no children at our wedding, which is completely reasonable because most kids are very playful, they enjoy running around and making noise, not exactly something someone wants during one of their most special days. So I explained that I would not be able to attend because I can't leave my son alone with a babysitter. However, my husband would still be attending for both of us. When she heard this, she immediately said that I can bring my son along. She knows that he's a shy boy and wouldn't even be noticeable during the wedding. I asked her multiple times if she was sure, and she assured me that it was not an issue, that it's her wedding and she's allowed to make any exceptions that she wants. My cousin and I are very close, as I had no siblings growing up, so she's like a sister to me. Her fiance called me as well to say that he had no issues with my son coming along. When we went to the wedding, everything went smoothly and it was such a beautiful moment. I was so glad that I didn't have to miss this because seeing my cousin in her white dress immediately brought me to tears. No one even really noticed that my son was there because he just sat beside me quietly, probably because it was a crowd filled with a lot of people that he didn't recognize. During the reception, a number of relatives came to me saying that I was disrespectful for bringing my child along after the invitation clearly stated it was a child-free wedding. I explained that my cousin was okay with it and this caused an even bigger issue. The relatives said it was unfair that they couldn't bring their children and I was allowed to bring mine. They also said that my child was being a brat for not staying with a babysitter. This is where I may be the asshole. I told them that it isn't their wedding, therefore they should learn how to mind their own business. My mother says that it was unnecessary for me to be rude to my relatives and I should have just explained the situation to them instead of causing problems with them. Am I the asshole for being rude to my relatives for not minding their own business?